keep
the way I present and the confidence I present with is because I stack the odds in my favor. So if I'm running CRM or final expense or life insurance or mortgage protection, doesn't matter. I don't like to go out in the field with less than 5 to 10 appointments a day, right? Because that allows me to say, all right, listen, in the first 2 minutes, you need to let me know why I need to give you a presentation. And if not, then I understand that this is not as important to you as it should be right now. And I need to go get and sit down with a family that's ready to protect their family, right? Because buying life insurance is a selfless act. So all you got to do is get them to think about how they felt when they filled it out. Most of these guys that's filling things out on the internet, they're filling it out because they just lost a family member and they saw how crazy it was getting final arrangements together. Or they have a few friends that just got diagnosed with an illness. Something happened to make them think about protecting themselves and their family. No one just wakes up and say, hey, let me just get some life insurance. Hey, let me just protect, myself and my family. No one just wakes up about that. There's so many things that happen in a day. But something happens to trigger that person to think about their family. So you need to bring them back in that mindset. So the first thing I usually say is, hey, there's usually 3 reasons why someone fills this out. 1, you have life insurance, but you need a little bit more. 2, you don't have life insurance, but you want to make sure you don't leave a burden behind to your family, or you want to leave a legacy, or both. Or 3, you had a policy that expired or lapsed. Which one are you? At that point, they have to choose which one they are. Once they choose which one they are, then it's your turn to kind of dig a little deeper, right? So no, I don't have life insurance. Okay, perfect. So you want to make sure you don't leave a burden behind to your family and maybe leave a legacy, right? So here's the magic thing. This is how you make sure you maximize protecting the family, right? And making sure they get exactly what they need. A lot of times we follow up with that question and we just say, you don't want to leave a burden to your family. And they say yes. All right, so let me ask you a question. Are you looking for the coverage to handle final arrangements, such as burial and things like that, maybe consolidate some debt and things of that nature? Was you just looking for that only, or were you looking to leave a legacy behind as well? And the reason I asked the legacy question is when they say I want to leave a legacy behind, that gives me permission to show larger death benefits. That gives me permission to show them 10,000, 15,000, 200. Right? Now, after I get them to say that, I ask them a little bit about their beneficiary. So guys, if y'all have your pen, write this down. Some of the guys that have been around, they heard me say this and they use this question at every house. But for the new people who haven't had a chance, this is a question that you should ask in every single house. When's the last time you experienced the loss of a loved one? I'll say it again. When's the last time you experienced the loss of a loved one? And they're going to give you a bad story or a good story. They're going to tell you, okay, perfect. How was the handling those arrangements? Did it happen fast? Did it take a little longer? Was it stressful? Did they have life insurance? Did they not have life insurance? Yes, they had life insurance. Perfect. I understand why I'm here today, Jacob. I'm here today because you want to make sure that you are able to alleviate the burden off your family, or vice versa. At that point, my next pose is this. All right. My job, what I do is I want to take that burden off of you and leave it onto the insurance carrier's back. I want to accomplish 2 things today, Chappelle. I want to marry your need and your budget. If I'm able to do those 2 things today, is there any reason that we don't leave your family protected?
Nope.
And then at that point, that's when you go for your clothes. They're going to say no. Now, guys, I want somebody to raise their hand. I want somebody to unmute that's struggling or that's struggling in a home with closing or having trouble in the home, kind of getting people to commit. Maybe they say, let me think about it. Maybe they say, call me back then. I want to discuss it with my children. Whatever the case may be. If it's a sale that you had that you weren't able to close, this is the time for us to have a little bit of one-on-one training. Got a few people on this call. If you can unmute or you can raise your hand. I know we got a lot of new people on the call that have enrolled.
I got one.
I want somebody that wrote business.
I got one, Kairi. If you get someone to say, they just want to think about it before you really get into the presentation, like right after you ask that question.
Okay, is that Andre?
Yes, sir.
All right, what's up, Andre?
What's going on, bro?
Hey, man, I can't complain. All right, Andre, so you said let me think about it, right?
Yeah, they say, I'm gonna just want to talk to it with my kids, my wife, whoever else, my spouse, right after you ask that question before you even get into the presentation.
All right, perfect. Let's role play a little bit, Andre. I like it. So usually you did your work early, okay? So everything I just told you guys earlier, you make sure you do, because you don't want to be a quote giver. If you're a quote giver, I'm going to tell you this business is going to be very rough, okay? Because you're going to get a lot of let me think about it. But as long as you ask those questions that I asked in the beginning, you can kind of hit them with this at the end. So let me think about it. All right, so Andre, I showed you 3 options today. $100 for $100,000. $50 for $50,000, and $150,000 for $150. Looking at those 3, you said that the $100 a month for the $100,000 was affordable. Now, Andre, you told me you want to think about it because you want to discuss it with your daughter. Are you discussing the price with your daughter, or you just want to make sure she understands the benefits?
Well, hold on. For my situation, it was before. So let's backtrack. So when you say, is there any reason that we wouldn't be able to move forward after you ask that question?
All right, let's stop here.
Yeah, and you have somebody say, well, I just want to talk about it with such and such.
Perfect.
How would you go about it?
All right, we still in the beginning. So what I would say is, hey, today what I want to do, Andre, is I want to take that burden off of you and your family and leave it on the insurance company's back. I want to accomplish 2 things today, Andre. I want to marry your need and your budget. I don't want to be a penny over your budget, but I want to make sure I cover your entire need. If I'm able to do those 2 things today, Andre, is there any reason that we don't leave your family protected?
No, I mean, I'm just gonna want to talk it over with the kids and just see what they say I should do.
Oh, no, that's no problem, Andre. So, Andre, let me ask you a question. Are the children going to be paying the policy, or are you going to pay it?
I'll be paying it.
Okay. So let me ask you a question, Andre. Have you ever given your children a gift on Christmas or birthdays or holidays, money, and have they ever given it back to you?
No.
All right, Andre, this is the same thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure we marry your need and budget, get this protection, and kind of take that burden away. And instead of having a conversation with your children of saying, hey, I'm thinking about protecting you guys, and taking the hard shit off of you guys. I already did it. Here's the policy number. Here's the agent to contact. It's already taken care of. Because you don't typically go to the store, get a card and put money in it, and tell your daughter on her birthday, hey, I was thinking about giving you $200. Do you want it?
That's good.
Fair enough?
Fair enough. That's
kind of
good.
give $100 and they thank you and give you a hug because they really need it. And this is going to be the same thing. You're going to give them a policy that's going to represent a lot more than 10,000. It's going to represent that you were prepared and you did not leave a burden on the family. In fact, it's 100,000. So you'll leave a legacy. Is that fair enough?
All right, this sounds good.
Anybody else have anything that they're struggling with, anything that they went through in the home that, you know, they think could have went a little bit better, or, you know, they got, you know, it's only a few things you're going to get in the home, right? When you give a presentation, you really only want to get, let me think about it. And when they ask you, let me think about it at the end, here's how I say. Let's say we at the end. Hey, James. You can unmute. Hey, James.
Hey.
There's usually only 3 reasons someone has to think about it. 1, it's the price. 2, they don't really like me. Or 3, they don't really trust the company. Which one of them are you? Which one of it is it for you?
I might not like the price.
Price. Okay. So why don't we do this? Because earlier I told you I want to marry your need in your budget. And I want to honor that. So why don't we look at this other option? I understand that the 50,000 is very attractive for you. But why don't we look at the 25,000, which is a little bit cheaper? Because I don't want you to think about this payment. If the roof leaks, I want you to be able to continue to pay this payment and fix the roof. If your car breaks down, I want you to be able to fix your car to get back and forth to work and still be able to continue this policy. So why don't we start at the 25,000, which is $53 a month? Is that feasible?
Yeah, I could do that.
All right, let's start here, and we can always increase. Because James, here's what most people say. Oh man, I really wanted that 50,000. It was going to do this. If I can't get the 50,000, I don't really want to do anything. That's typically what they say at that moment, okay, James?
Mm-hmm.
So then at that moment, guess what I'm going to say? Hey, James, is it fair to say that something is better than nothing?
Yeah.
Right now, you and your family have nothing. Earlier, you said that your daughter will be a beneficiary. You told me that she has 3 kids, a husband, and a family. You also told me that she doesn't have 10, 15,000 sitting around in the bank account just to handle your final arrangements. So is it fair enough that she'll get a $25,000 check? Do you think she'll be upset and give it back? Or do you think she'll be appreciative to have 25,000 versus nothing?
Something's always better than nothing.
Yeah, she's not 25,000 back. My dad was supposed to leave me 50.
Right.
All right, so let's just get started here. We can always increase later if anything happens. Boom. Guys, no questions. No one's struggling with anything in the home. I know it's a lot of new people who's just starting and haven't written the policy yet. I kind of want to take this time to go over this. Hey, Jazz, do I have you there?
Yeah, Jazz. Yeah, Jazz here. Hold on.
Come to look him.
Oh, you want it?
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, you getting Jazz. I want to, because some of you guys, y'all call me while you're in the homes, and I kind of want to go over these questions here in the group chat so everybody can hear it. Everybody can, get a chance to overcome these objections, because there's not many. There's really not many. You're going to realize that this business is very, very simple when you realize that no one's sitting around trying to think of the next thing that stopped you when you get in the house, or kind of to throw you off your rocket when you get in the house.
All right, what's going on? Okay.
Hey, Jazz. So I kind of want you to role play a little bit with me. I want you to give me a scenario of a time in the house that you're struggling. This is more for the in-home presentation. I want people to understand that the objections are pretty much the same. They're basic. So I want you to stop. Give me a time you were in the house where you felt like the cell just slipped away from you.
I'm not gonna lie to you. Typically, when I'm probed where I'm supposed to, I don't really have that issue. If it was a time, it might have been like the spouse wasn't available, which I kind of like maybe like blame myself for not asking the right questions, or they really couldn't afford it. So that was like a scenario that came across. So those are the two, I guess, major things that I'm having as far as like a dilemma, or they have another carrier, such as like they might have Prime America, something like that. So, okay, so today I had a woman who had Prime America. Not today, but another day. She had Prime America, she's paying $60. She had $100,000 worth of coverage.
How was she?
42, 43.
All right, so that should have been, you should get that cell every time. Here's how I do it. Hey, Jasmine, are you familiar with the basic types of insurances?
Yeah.
All right, there's typically 3 types, okay? There's whole life, there's term, and there's universal.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Temporary insurance, it pays out less than 1% of the time.
Yeah.
Whole life is what we call our permanent insurance. It pays out 100% of the time. It also builds cash value, and the price never increases. Universal sits in the middle. Okay. Typically, we use this policy to gain interest so that we can use for big purchases down the line, or use to gain capital gains. Okay. Are you familiar what type of policy you had?
Term.
What'd you say?
Yeah, term.
Term. Do you know when your policy is going to expire?
30 years.
30 years. How long have you had it?
Maybe like 3 or 4 years.
3 or 4 years? Are you okay with paying into a policy that has less than 1% chance of paying out?
Well, how much would the other policy be?
So I can show you a policy that will guarantee to give you a guaranteed investment. It's going to be that universal policy, okay? It's going to give you the best of both worlds. It's going to give you $100,000 for the next 30 years. And if nothing happens, it gives you all your money back. It's a return of premium, okay?
Now,
and then I go for whole life, that's going to last you your entire life.
Now, she says she had that already, so I don't know if that's just something for me to walk away from.
No. So here's what I'll say. Let me ask you this, Jazz. If you went to a casino, right, and you had a table that wins less than 1% of the time.
Yeah.
And you had a table that wins 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Where would you pitch your $60 at?
I mean, we're 100% of the time, but I think the issue is like for the prime, it's the same exact thing that we have. That's basically what she's telling me. She told me she get cash back with that too, and that she can gain access to it too.
She doesn't. So, hey Jabril, can you unmute for me?
Yes, sir.
So
Oh,
product,
hold on.
guys, product knowledge is very, very important. You got to know your competition. Primerica sets term policies. They don't have return of premium. Their slogan is buy term, invest the difference.
Right.
You work for Primerica, correct?
Yes, sir.
How many people invest the difference?
Not many.
If you're in the house by yourself, you're not a financial advisor, right?
No.
What would you say about 90% of the people there are not financial advisors?
95.
95% of the people there are not financial advisors. So I mean, 95% of the people that are selling those term policies can't even help you invest. Because the only way you can invest the difference is if you're an FA. And then you're putting it into stocks, which has no guarantee that the money is going to be there when you need it.
Mm-hmm.
So the best way you do that is by asking questions, right? And when they tell you they're sure, challenge them, right? So it gives me cash back. Perfect. Can you do me a favor and can you go get that policy for me? What I like to do is I like to give you a diagnostics. It's like, you know, I like to look at this as I'm a professional because I study very hard to get my license. So when you have a professional sitting in your home, it's kind of like going to the doctor and not getting a diagnosis, or going into a mechanic and not getting a diagnosis. So since I'm here and I have some time, why don't you go grab that policy and I can break down everything that policy does or doesn't do. And I can give you a diagnosis. And if it's everything that it needs to be, I'll leave as a friend. If not, we'll take your $60 from a table that has less than 1% chance to win and put it on the table that has 100% chance to win. Now, notice that I'm not, now Jazz, notice that I'm not getting into comparing prices and comparing 100,000 a term to 100,000 a universal, 100,000 a whole life to 100,000 of term, because it makes no sense. Think of it this way, guys. It's like comparing a 2020 Rolls Royce to a 2020 Honda Accord. You'll never ever question why the 2020 Rolls Royce costs more than the 2020 Honda Accord. And in this case, we're having a policy that pays less than 1% of the time. $100,000 is just a letter on the paper, a number on the page. Because if it's almost guaranteed not to pay out, taking the money and making the insurance company rich. So why don't we take this money, put it somewhere where it's going to 100% benefit you?
I got you.
So stop comparing prices. Don't give quotes. You got to diagnose people. You're the professional. So you got to dig a little bit deeper. Make them go grab the policy. Make them read the policy. Hey, when they tell you when they say, hey, this policy gives a return of premium. Hey, can you show me where it says it in this paperwork? Because it's fair to say that life insurance is not tangible. Listen to the words I'm using, guys. The psychology behind it. Is it fair to say, Genesis, this life insurance is not tangible?
Yeah, that's fair to say.
All right. So being as though that life insurance is not tangible, we kind of want to see it in fine print and writing, right? Because if it's not documented, it never happens. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. So can you tell me on your app, on your policy, your legal document, where it says that you're going to get your money back?
Okay.
All right. So it's not here. So the chances of you having to return a premium on this policy is not likely because it would have been done on a legal document. Now, what I can tell you to do is, let's take some time to Google And I literally tell them to do this in the house. Google, and just say it. I'll pick up the phone and I'll say, hey, Google, what is the chances of term policies paying out nationally? And it'll say less than 1%, or to say 99.5% of term policies never pay out. For two reasons. One, you outlive them. Two, the price increases and you eventually drop.
That's crazy.
Right. And Google will tell you that.
And Google
know,
definitely says it says 99% of term policies never pay out claims.
Boom. You just Googled it. Now, see, life insurance is not tangible, right? But documentations is tangible. So when you research it and you give documentations and you get concrete evidence of, why term policies don't pay out, or even if it don't pay out, because sometimes they might think that you're lying. They think you're making that up so you can transfer them to a different policy. But when they see it for themselves in their own documentation, or they see it for themselves on Google, then now you're literally just telling them, hey, why don't we take this money from playing it on the table that's less than 1% chance to win and put it on the table that's 100. And they're not going to question why they're spending $60 for 20,000 that they're guaranteed to get versus 60,000 on 100,000 that they have less than 1% chance to win.
I got you.
You're just changing their mindset. A lot of this business, changing their perception, right? Because when you go to bet at the casino, you won't go on roulette and take $60 and bet it on something where you won't win, and they tell you, hey, you're going to win $1 million. If you got a chance to bet $60 and guaranteed 100% win $100, you'll bet the $100 and you'll keep doubling up and doubling down. So I see your hand raised, Andre. Go ahead.
So that's the same scenario, right? When you're in the house and you're trying to get them to get the policy. Well, how would you go about it if they say they couldn't find the policy? So you could let them know.
It's hard for me to hear you a little bit, Andre. Say that one more time.
So if, let's say you're in the same scenario and you're trying to tell them to get the policy so you can show them or do the diagnosis, what would you say if they say, oh, I can't find the policy, I just don't know where it's at?
They say they can't find a policy?
Right.
So I ask them again, is it fair to say, Andre, that life insurance is not tangible? Let's role play, Andre.
All right. Fair. That's fair enough. That's fair to say.
Not tangible?
That's fair to say.
Do you have a policy number?
No, everything is like somewhere upstairs. I'd have to go look, but I can't find it.
Do you have anything that even lets us know that you have some protection?
I mean, I could find the agent's number.
Hey, can we call that agent?
Yeah, I'd have to find his number.
The reason I'm asking you this, Andre, is because a lot of times I come in houses and people are not set up the proper way. And because life insurance is not tangible, we don't know until it's too late. Is it fair to say if we're going to spend our money somewhere, we want to make sure that it's going to do what we paid for it to do, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
All right. And if you can't find it, the documentations or have any concrete documentation that shows that the coverage is still in force or is set up the proper way that you wanted to be set up, how hard do you think it's going to be for your daughter, Becky, to be able to get this claim paid? If it's even a claim that will be able to be processed.
Well, it shouldn't be that hard, right? If she's gonna have the agent's contact.
But let's just try to give them a call and let's see. And I would just like to ask them a few questions about the policy, or a way that we can get the policy access to the policy, so that way I can leave you in a better position. I always like to leave everyone in a better position. So I'll leave here as a friend, and you'll know that you're in the best position that you can be in, or we're going to take care of it and put you in a better position, and I'll still leave as a friend. Either way, I want to leave as a friend. Does that make sense?
Okay, I got you. That makes sense.
I mean, At the end of the day, what are we doing here, right? That's like, listen, us coming out to a house, they have protecting them. It's like, and a doctor's not doing examinations, not giving you an X-ray, not diagnosing that you have a broken arm. Makes no sense. You are a professional. You had to study to get a state license. You had to get fingerprint. You had to go through all these trainings and study to learn this business. Act as the professional. You don't leave a house without a diagnosis. Why? Because you might leave that house, leave your business card, and get a phone call 2 weeks later, and then the door that says, hey, which kind of policy did my mom get? Did she get the 30 or the 20? Oh, unfortunately, she couldn't find a policy, so she don't have nothing. Well, we just found the policy that she had, and it wasn't effective. It lapsed. So she don't have nothing, and they're crying. And now that's on you. What we do is serious, guys. When you walk in the house, you got the ability to leave a legacy behind. You can walk in the house and leave $1 million behind. You can walk in North Philly. You can walk in the project. You can walk anywhere in low income or high income or anywhere. And in a matter of seconds, you can place a policy, have it enforced, and leave out and have left $1 million in their home. So you're more valuable than a piece of man. You're more valuable than a lot of people that walk into their homes. Act as such. You're the professional. Trey, I see your hand up, Trey.
Yeah, man, I'm listening. This is all good stuff. But the question I had was, you said we shouldn't compare prices or give quotes. So why is that?
Because you want to sell value, right? What makes you different than the person that calls on the phone? Understand this one thing, guys. These people are professional filler outers, right? That's not a real word, but it's a real thing. They're professional filler outers. They're online all day filling out stuff. That's what they do. So you think your life insurance ad was the only one they respond to? Do you think you're going to be the only life insurance agent they talk to? And if you get into the habit of being a quote giver, it's going to be like you're at an auction bidding. And that's not what we're here to do. We're here to diagnose and find a solution to the problem. And if you give the solution to the problem, when an agent comes, you're going to get this very often. Oh, no, I already took care of that. I have a guy. No, I'm happy where I am. No, I know, I understand that. You know why? Because you took the time to listen to what they needed, and you took the time to create a solution to the problem that they had at hand. And once you solve the solution, there's no need to look for a solution to a problem that's already taken care of. But if you just give them a quote, and then they take the first quote, they're going to be looking for other quotes. So think of it like this. If you don't educate them and you don't find out and you sell them a whole life policy, right? And your whole life policy is $50 and it's $10,000. And you don't explain the benefits. And you don't sell them on the value, you just sell them on the price. And they say, I can afford $53. Shoot, I'll take $10,000. And they don't really know how that $10,000 works, what type of policy it is, if it even fits their need. And then another insurance agent call them and say, hey, I can give you $100,000 for $25. They just replaced your policy. When in reality, if you took the time to find out what they need and explain what the policy does and really take your time on giving them your value, when that person calls them and say, hey, I can give you that for $25,000, they're gonna be like, oh, really? Perfect, leave me that quote. I wanna run this by Kairi. I wanna run this behind Trey. And then what they're gonna do is they're gonna call you and say, hey man, you told me you were a broker. You told me you represent a bunch of companies. Some guy called me and said that he can give me $100,000 for $25 a month. And you know what I'm gonna say? Absolutely he can. He sure can. And I can as well. However, it's probably a term policy like I told you earlier, the one that pays out less than 1% of the time. So it doesn't really matter. Think about it in this terms. If you buy a Honda Accord with no engine for $500, or I have a Nissan Altima for $2,000 with a working engine and it's perfectly runs good. Would you spend your $500 on the Honda with no engine, or would you spend your $2,000 on the Altima that's going to run and get you from A to point to B?
2000.
Feel me, Trey?
Yeah. I
All right,
got you.
listen. Guys, story sell. Story sell. Remember that. Story sell. That's why I lose a lot of allergies.
I got one.
Who that? Saeed?
Yeah.
My boy, talk to me.
All right. So earlier I had a client randomly call me out of nowhere, right?
Okay.
And they were speaking about this was about mortgage protection, but we also dibble dabbled in final expense.
Okay.
Because he brought up the point about like his social security and stuff. Like he's retired, but he don't get that much he don't got that much like social security or any kind of like monthly income coming in like that. So he made the point of, okay, like remember how we talked about how term insurance pay out only less than 1%?
Yes.
Well, he made the point about whole life insurance becoming too expensive, or being too expensive, because we know it's more expensive than term insurance, of course. But he was talking about the fact that what if it gets to a point where he can no longer afford the whole life coverage and then have to drop it because he don't have any funds coming in.
So perfect, Saeed. The great thing about whole life is it has a great equalizer, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's called cash value. Okay?
Yeah.
So let's just say you had your policy for 5 years and you run hardship.
Mm-hmm.
And you had, I don't know, $2,000 worth of cash value sitting in your policy.
Right.
Your premium is $100 a month.
Mm-hmm.
What you're able to do is borrow from your cash value to keep your policy in force. So that will give you literally a year and a half of payments to keep your $50,000 insurance policy in force.
Mm-hmm.
Get back on your feet. And, is it fair enough to say that this hardship, probably is not going to last more than a year and a half?
I mean, I'm not sure how much things are going to change for a 65 plus year old at that point financially.
All right, so here's what we're going to do. Why don't you want a fixed income, correct?
Yeah.
All right, so that fixed income is probably going to be for the rest of your life, right?
Yeah.
All right. So the only way something changes is if you add on new expense, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to understand this. This is the agreement, Saeed. I'm going to be there on the worst day of your family life to be able to handle a check, process the claim, and be able to kind of be their advocate, walk them through the most worst day of their life. The insurance company is going to be there to provide this $50,000 of coverage to take away the burden from your family and leave a legacy behind. Because we're all going to leave a legacy, either a good one or a bad one. And you're taking the chance to leave a good one behind to where your family doesn't have to leave a burden. The third obligation comes from you. What do you think the obligation is, Saeed?
I mean, the only obligation I'm aware of is having to pay my monthly premium for the insurance.
Okay, so here's what I want you to do, Saeed. I want us to marry your need in your budget. So I want you to look at these 3 options, and I want you to pick the option that fits your budget today.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll make sure that option covers your need.
Okay. Say it again.
I said I want you to pick the option that fits your budget today. Is that fair enough?
Yeah.
Now here's the thing. I never like to decrease insurance. I only increase it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll much rather start you off lower. And then if things change in a positive way, we increase. But I would never, ever place a policy. Okay? So we're going to take the lower end for now. And if something changes in your budget and you can kind of increase the policy, you just call me up. It's a simple process. Now, the only way you won't be able to afford this insurance is if you hit the lottery.
Yeah,
And if you hit the lottery, hey, cancel it, man, because you don't need it, right? Take
exactly.
your cash, take your $4,000 cash value out, put it in the bank and spend it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't hit the lottery, the only way that this policy lapses and you can't afford it is if you took on another expense.
Mm-hmm.
And if you another expense, you got to ask yourself, is that expense worth leaving a burden behind to your family?
No, it's not.
Perfect. How you feel about that, Saeed?
I mean, you break it down that way, I feel good about it.
Boom. So what you want to do is you want to change their mindset, because basically what that dude is telling you is that he might lapse this policy. So what I want to do is I want to bring it down to a price that I know he can afford. And I also want to let him know, like, don't be a piece of crap. Like, Saeed, just don't be a piece of crap. Because if you let this policy lapse, you a piece of crap. Because we already made sure that this price fit within your budget today. And the only reason it don't fit in your budget years from now is because you picked up the habit of smoking a pack a day instead of 10 cigarettes a day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's only picked up another habit. Or you added a premium sports package to your cable bill, and then you got to ask yourself, is that premium sports page or increasing your cable bill more important than taking away the burden behind to your family? Because by cutting that expense to add this expense, you're leaving the burden behind to your family. So as long as you make them understand how important this is, when they call you to cancel, you just throw it back in your face. Hey, Saeed, you said earlier that you wanted to get this policy so that your family don't have the burden of running around figuring out funds to handle final arrangements.
Mm-hmm.
Anything changed?
Did anything change?
Yeah, if anything changed in your mindset, like did your daughter get a promotion where she has 10, 15, 20,000?
Oh no, yeah, no, nothing changed.
Okay, so it will still kind of be a burden if she had to come up with that money with taking care of kids and her family, right?
Yeah.
All right. So let me ask you, you told me that, you picked up golfing. Hey, I'm not saying don't golf, but I'm sure there's other things that you can cut back on to be able to start golfing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe dropping the HBO on your cable bill. Maybe it may be smoking 2 or 3 less cigarettes a day. I don't know what it may be for you, but let me ask you, is those golf lessons worth leaving a burden onto your daughter?
No.
All right. Hey, listen, man, if you need anything, I'm here. Do you still kind of want to cancel this policy, or are we going to kind of look for a different way to kind of cut back on expenses?
Do you want the easy answer or the hard answer?
Give me the hard answer.
I'm canceling this policy, bro. I said what I said.
Hey, listen, Saeed, no power. What I'm going to do is I have a form that I have delivered to you. I could be over there Tuesday or Thursday. Which day is best for me to have you sign the refusal of coverage?
Tuesday.
All right. So when I come over, I'm going to have you sign a refusal of coverage. It just pretty much goes off the hook. So that if anything, your family can't come after us legally because you decided to drop the coverage.
All right. I can't afford it. I mean, what you want me to do?
See you Tuesday, Saeed. Have a good day. Click.
All right.
Guess what? 20 to 30% of the business is going to fall off anyway. So when they like that, who cares? All right, Saeed. See you later. You decided to be a piece of crap. I'm sorry for saying that, guys, but that's what that is. Anytime that you telling me that if something happens to you and you don't pay this little $50, $100 a month that your family and your daughter is going to have a burden behind, and you still telling me you canceling it, then you being a piece of crap. So I'm going to let you be a piece of crap, and I'm going to go help somebody else that needs my help. Am I going to bring the refusal form over on Tuesday? Heck no. He's going to call me on Tuesday and say, hey, man, are you still coming by at 12? You know what? I actually have an appointment at 1 o'clock, and I don't want to risk being late helping that family protect their family.
Oh, you
So
trying
what
to be, you gotta get, they make them feel guilty about it, huh?
Yep. Here's the phone number to the company. You can literally just call them and just tell them that you want to drop your coverage. Have a nice day, James. And I'm hanging up.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go through all that guilt trip and all that feeling like a piece of crap, then who cares, man? You don't care about your family. What am I doing to do? Move on and help the next family. But most times, you know, I'm going to say you're going to save about 70% of your business with those tactics because you got the information in the beginning. It all boils down to the beginning, guys. And I'm going to close the call out in a second if nobody have no more questions that they want me to answer.
Comment, Kairi.
Say?
I do have a comment as you're closing out. Can everyone go to the chat? Unless you're driving, I added the group me on there. If you're not on the group me, make sure you are. So add yourself through there. I posted my phone number and my email. Please save it. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to me. I added Kairi's phone number too. It's the second phone number that ends in 7165. Do not call that first number. That is not his phone number. And then I also added our website. So our website, it's perfect for new and seasoned agents. If you need help on the field, you'll find the cheat sheets. You'll see the scheduling sheets and dial sheets for dialing day. The scripts, everything, any website that you are using for contracting or just anything. We have the FFL discount card, which you should be signing up for. That's another way you make money and save money on your clients' prescriptions. They need that, especially as they're saving money on their prescriptions. They could put that extra funds into life insurance as well. So make sure you follow that page. You do have to sign up. So once you press login, it'll have you sign up. I just give me some time to approve it, but head over there and save those numbers and join the group me and our FFL Humble Beginnings website. But go ahead, Kairi.
No, that was pretty much it, guys. I just wanted to take this time to kind of go over in-house presentation and brush up on the importance of doing your work early, right? I wouldn't add all those things to hit people with that when they call me and want to cancel their policy or when they tell me they want to think about it if I don't ask the right questions in the beginning. And the first thing you want to do is find out why. Why did they fill it out? Second thing you want to do is find out what was on their mind when they filled it out. And that's when I asked, when's the last time you experienced the loss of a loved one? And the third thing, who are they protecting? You want to spend most of your time doing these three things. Everything else is just filling out the app and getting it done. The third thing is, who are they protecting? So I usually ask the question, hey, who's going to handle the final arrangement? Is it going to be one person? Is it going to be, 2 or 3 people, like all 3 of your kids collectively working together? Usually some people pick the most responsible person, but some people are fortunate to have all the kids to be very responsible, and they just split it off between the 3. Which one is it for you? Most of the times they say, my son David, if they only got 10,000 or 20,000 or less than 30 or less, they usually choose one person because David is the most responsible. And then you ask a little bit about David. Hey, I'm going to be the person that's going to be handling these final arrangements and kind of walking David through the process. Tell me a little bit about David. Is he local? Does he live in the area? Does he live in the city? Oh, wow. Does David have kids? Oh, he does. He has a family. Okay. Married. How many kids? I'm sure you're happy to have all 3 of your grandchildren close to you. Let me ask you this question, because you told me earlier you want to kind of get this coverage. not to leave a burden behind to David, right? Is that fair enough? Okay, cool. Let me ask you this question. Does David have 10 to 15,000 sitting in the bank earmarked just to handle these final arrangements? Or is that kind of the reason why we're getting this, so you can alleviate that burden from David? Okay, yeah, that's kind of the reason we're getting this. All right, perfect. So when you get to the end, you can say, you said, that's your favorite word. You said that you wanted to get this protection because you didn't want to leave a burden behind to David. Because you said it would be a struggle if he had to come up with 10, 15,000, knowing that he has his 3 kids and his wife to take care of already. So you want to take that burden off his plate. Has anything changed? Boom. All right, guys, I'm gonna close the call out there. I hope this was helpful. The call is recorded. You want to write those 3 things down. Those are the 3 things you want to do in every single house as you start an appointment, and you'll realize that a lot more of your business will stay on the books. You'll get a lot less, let me think about it. You'll get more referrals. I mean, it'll be crazy. Next week, I want to talk a little bit about referrals and how my presentation ties into referrals. Can't give you all at one everything at once. And then I also tie in next week talking about financial opportunities like annuities and IULs. That's where you're gonna get the big money. The IULs and the annuities. It's like your bonuses. All right, guys. Talk to y'all in a little bit.